Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Files Into the Darkness. I am your host, Sean Wagner, and tonight I am accompanied by Dave Spinks. How you doing, Dave?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent.
Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to. Gwen, she'll be joining us in just a little bit. One second. Also, along the way, just so to go back on a couple of things here we have to do. Our future guests will include next week we'll have on Barry Fitzgerald. He's from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International. Also on April 14th, Nancy Dutertre, the skeptical psychic. Hopefully I didn't butcher her last name. Sorry if I did, Nancy. April 28th, we'll have on Heather Taddy from Paranormal State and Alien Highway. May 12th, we have Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files and his new podcast, Paranormal 60. May 26th, we'll have Katie Burr on from Everyday Paranormal and Ghost Lab. All right. Thank you, Brendan. We're back now with Dave Spinks. He is an author investigator. He's been researching the paranormal since about 1986. He's conducted several hundred investigations here in the U.S. and throughout Europe. He served in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years, served as a federal law enforcement officer as well. He's been on a number of shows, including Expedition X, Terror in the Woods, Paranormal 911, The UnXplained, In Search of Monsters, and These Woods Are Haunted, just to name a few. He's also in the film Flatwoods Monster, A Legacy of Fear by Small Town Monsters. He also writes about cryptids, hauntings, and ufology with such books as Willows Weep, The Beginning, Real West Virginia Hauntings Volume 1, Wood Knocks Volume 2, A Journal of Sasquatch Research, West Virginia Bigfoot, and Real West Virginia UFOs, Sightings, and Close Encounters. He's also done a cookbook, Cooking with Cryptids by Dave Spinks, and also one other book, Wicked 46 of Pennsylvania Haunting. His website is www.davespinks.paranormalinvestigator.com, and his books can be purchased on Amazon. I've been reading your book, West Virginia Hauntings Volume 1. I really liked it. And of course, how are things going in West Virginia and your store? Then also you opened a new store.
I'm coming to you live, where I'm live at my store right now. So maybe later we can I'll give you guys a sneak peek of it or whatever. But yeah, man, things are going great. Busy as ever. Still doing, investigations and cases as usual. Juggling all that with the store and kids and all the fun stuff, So, this isn't work though, man. This is fun. I'm retired now. I have been since 2012, and this is just a hobby going insane and having a lot of fun with it, So, we're doing we just did our first Monster Con here on the store last weekend, and we had some bad weather come in on Saturday, but we still had a really good turnout for a first time conference, and the weather being crappy on one day. We had over 300 people show up just on Saturday in the store, and from 7 states. So that's really good. I mean, we were packed from Thursday through Sunday. So we had quite a few people come in, and that was just a rough estimate. We know we had over 300 in the store on Saturday alone on a rough head count. So that's really good for first time conference. And what was cool about it is the whole town was behind it. We had restaurants making specialty meals and serving specialty drinks, like all monster related. So it was a lot of fun, and it's a way for me to help the town by bringing people in, and I'm right on the edge of the Monongahela National Forest where the bulk of the Bigfoot sightings happen in West Virginia. So we're going to be running sky watching out there in the Mon and Bigfoot hunts, and we'll be doing some ghost stuff right here in the town of Richwood. I'm working on a new little haunted Richwood book. All the old timers been coming in, giving me stories, people sharing accounts in their homes around here. And, it's going to be a cool thing once we get that up and running as well.
It sounds like it certainly will be. That's awesome. Plus, it's great for business to the small town as well. Help the local economy and everything as well, certainly.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, small town America is slowly dying, and I'm trying to, this is just one of tens of thousands in our country. And, it's things like this, you can quote as paratourism, whatever you want to call it. But, this is a big business now, and it's a way to help towns, you know, because everywhere has a haunting or a monster story, or some have all three, you know, UFO sightings and whatnot. So why not, you know, it's part of that town and that state's folklore, their traditions, their stories, their experiences. Why not utilize some of that if we can help the towns and you know, help them make some money, stay afloat.
Definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Also, we come to the time, the toast
Oh,
for
yeah.
Marla.
There you go.
For you, Marla. Thank you.
There you
go. One of the coolest things I think we do. But also, can I ask what you did in the military and law enforcement?
Well, in the military, I had several different jobs. I started off with what they call MWR. So I would give the troops and stuff ways to relax, like, you know, it's called morale, welfare, and recreation. We would show movies, whether you're in the field or whatever. We would provide them with sports, you know, whether it be basketball, softball, whatever they needed. And then that started merging with another part, what had to do with cooking and lodging and all that. I said, no, that's not my gig. And I did that for a little bit, but then I switched into then I started doing all kind of different other jobs, special duty assignments and different things like that. So I was working with the military police and helicopter gunner at one point for a while and all kinds of different things. And then I got out, and after I blew my knee out, and I was just, they're like, you're going to be on a desk for the rest of your career probably. And I was like, no. I got out, went into federal law enforcement, and retired in 20, you know, just at 20 years government time, and started doing this because I've been doing this anyway throughout my entire working career. So, you know, I started going full time with this, putting my cases and investigations into books and investigating anything under the sun that I got, you know, got people call me up. Hey, I've seen this. This is going on at my house. Can you come check it out? And then, of course, you know, in my early time, I was trying to document paranormal activity, you know, just get it on tape, get it on anything, you know, try to give myself validation and other people validation. And now I've kind of morphed into, you know, more back into doing residentials and helping people because, you know, that's what it's all about, really, in reality. I've done enough of the documenting now. I mean, I have my own paranormal house, so, you know, haunted house, Willows Weep. So, you know, I've done a ton of that stuff, captured some pretty compelling stuff. I don't need validation. I don't need to show anybody else, hey, look what we got. Now it's going back to reverting to helping people who have extreme hauntings or negative type hauntings in their homes or anything of the sort that we can help debunk and make them feel at ease, you know, whatever the case. So, you know, it's kind of morphed back into the beginning for me again. And now, you know, I'm trying to take people out. I'm also teaching people how to investigate, you know, my techniques and some of the things I've done that have proven successful for me over the years. So we do, you know, we'll be offering all kinds of classes here at the store because we have an event center attached to my store. And my girlfriend is also a holistic healer. So we do we've done some pretty intense cases, man, where we had a teenage boy, he killed himself, and we went in and, you know, decided that it was truly negative in nature. Something pushed him to do it. And then we found out through further research that there had been like 8 or 9 suicides on this little small area of this street. So, you know, things like that without going into too much detail because it's, you know, privacy issues. But that's some of the stuff we're doing now and I'm doing, and, you know, focusing a little more on the spiritual side and the energy side of things and trying to help people.
That's the way to really do it. I mean, it's nice to do big name places, but I think it's also very important to help other people. That's something I definitely agree with, big time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very, very satisfying, in my opinion, anyway.
That's what there's a big misconception out there because the public doesn't know. The public doesn't understand. There's a huge difference when you investigate, say, a haunted asylum, a notorious place, versus doing a residential case that people are living in, experiencing all kind of negative paranormal or, you know, supernatural events in their home. There's a big difference in that. You know, when you go to a commercial location like an old prison or an asylum, you're there just trying to document something cool, you know, something creepy or whatever. When you're in a house, you're there trying to help those people figure out what's causing it and how to get rid of it, basically, so they can go about living a normal life again. So, and you can literally spend years on one case before you can figure it out and, help these people and get rid of it. So there's a big misconception out there, TV versus reality, when it comes to the whole investigation situation.
Definitely, big time. TV, everything's condensed into 1 hour, and
Yep.
usually something big happens on most of the investigations too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not like, hey, it's not, sometimes it works. You can go in and have a place cleansed, whatever, and it's gone, or it's dumbed down to the point where they're fine again. But other times, these shows, some of these shows out there, abracadabra, kabam, kalazam, and it's all done. And then you hear from the people at another event or something that, it got worse after they left, or it never changed. It's the same thing going on. So, people got to keep in mind that some of these shows you got to take with a grain of salt, because it's entertainment. It's not always the real thing. So, you got to just, pay attention and keep an open mind and understand what you're looking at here.
And that's why I'm glad to have you on, because I completely agree with you there. On TV, there's money involved in terms of entertainment purpose. But also, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit more about Willows Weep?
Well, yeah, Willows Weep, I don't know, it was like 2013 or 14 when I first heard about it through the paranormal grapevine, as we all do. Oh, I went to this place, you got to check it out, it's crazy, whatever. And so, you make, back in some of those other days when I was running and gunning, checking out all kind of places, because it's exciting. It's always exciting to go to a new place you've never been to. So I went there with a friend, and we got some pretty good stuff, pretty much the whole gambit, other than seeing a full-blown apparition or anything. But we had unexplained noises, disembodied voices, EVPs. Our equipment was being drained. Saw a little bit of unexplained shadow movement and this and that. So I went back 2 or 3 more times trying to get more, and each time it was pretty good. It was interesting. And I started talking to a lot of other people who had crazy experiences there, and the former owner and everything, became friends with her. And long story short is, she called me up in, like, I think it was 2016 or 2017, and said, "Hey, Dave, we're done with this place. This place has tried to kill me and my husband twice now, we feel, due to some things that went down. And do you want it?" And she said, "There's only 2 people I would want to have this location, and it's you and this other person." And that other person couldn't do it. So I said, "Let me think about it." And, had to, so what do you want for it, and this and that. And we came to an agreement. I called her a day later and came to an agreement, and I ended up buying it. I said, it was a very negative place. First off, there's a lot of deaths in the house, suicides and stuff like that. And, when you are dealing with a place like that, you have to really take it into consideration, because it's very negative in nature. And I said, well, doing what I do, what better of an opportunity would I have to have my own paranormal lab, so to speak, and be able to have basically a controlled environment where I could try to document things. And that's basically what I got it for. I used to let other teams in there. They would share their evidence, what they experienced, and whether they did or they didn't. And I took a bunch of that, and plus my experiences, and the former owner, and wrote a book about it, Willows Weep, the beginning. And the house is really old. You got to remember, it's built in 1890. There's a lot of feedback from some of the former family members that feel that, not only me, but Brenda before me was exploiting their family's deaths, which we weren't. It's all public record. We just talked about it. We feel it was paranormal in nature, or something could have pushed them to that. And, when I investigate, I'd look for those types of things. I'm saying, why does this particular house or location have a lot of suicides or a lot of very bad negative energy in it? So you have to look at that as an investigator to try to decipher what's going on. So, in doing that, I stopped letting people in the house, because now it's pretty much structurally unsound. And that's the first reason. Second reason is it's very negative. There's been some people physically attacked in there. People have almost died from being in that house, due to various things that happened, like a stroke and a heart attack and other things. which I feel definitely could be paranormal related. Of course, you can't prove that, but there's no coincidence when it happens to numerous people at different times. So, with that being said, I've pretty much shut it down other than for what I'm doing with it. I'm doing a documentary on it. The first part should be out in the next week or so. And then book number 2 will come out in the second part of the documentary. And I've decided, I think it's my responsibility as a location owner of a very negative place like that to actually cleanse it and have it torn. I'm going to tear it down and have it cleansed by several different members of different religious backgrounds, and just take it down, because I've done what I've done with it. I just, I don't think it's safe to keep letting people in there doing what, investigating, because I've had a close personal friend that had something very severe happen to him in there as well. So, with that, you got to take those things into account as being a responsible location owner. I don't want that on my conscience if someone dies, because I let them in to do an investigation. Plus, there's all kinds of riffraff that come around there after it was on TV. Had several windows broken at different various times, people drawing upside down pentagrams on the ground, all kind of stuff. And it's just, it's not about the money. I could be letting people in there right now. I've got 70 teams wanting in there, begging me to let them in there right now. 70 teams. And
71.
Yeah, and it's not about the money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just that I don't want that on my conscience. I really don't. And so once I'm done, I've already got a person that's going to take over the property. Once I knock the house down, I'm either going to burn it or have it knocked down and cleared, and then clear it with clergy. And there's going to be horses put on the property for, horses are very grounding, and it's, it'll be a Native American person that's taking over the property. So, as a responsible location owner, I think that's my duty and my job in taking care of that. And a lot of people feel that there's an open portal there, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to close that portal, cleanse it, and give it back to the earth, as a good place, not a bad place anymore.
That sounds actually very good. I did find that clip on the internet with you talking about the place. Brenda, can you play that clip, please?
Some of the interesting aspects of this house include numerous factual deaths, 3, possibly 4 by suicide. The house is built in the shape of a cross, and in all 4 corners of that cross, originally there was 4 entrances and exits as to funnel in energy. Above those entrances and exits, there are 4 points built into the structure itself, almost like a pentagram shape, seeming to point to the middle of the house. Directly in front of the house, there's a crossroads. So if you know anything about the devil in the crossroads story, that's another interesting aspect of this property.
All right.
Yeah, that was we were trying to. The guy contacted me. He wanted to make a whole Hollywood horror movie about the house, and that just didn't pan out. But his idea, not mine. I'm like, well, if you can get it made, but we'll make it. Whatever. But it never panned out. It takes a lot of money to do something like that. But he did film the first aspect of the documentary, and that was his doing. And we captured, I don't know if you've ever seen the Shadow Man footage he captured there by pure happenstance during the time we were filming that documentary with a GoPro that was just a static cam set on top of the door. It's pretty compelling. You can see that on my YouTube channel, Real Supernatural. Just scroll down on videos till you find Shadow Man or Shadow Person captured. It's pretty compelling stuff. But that's just bonus stuff, man. If you get it, I'm not real big into Hollywood. Yeah, they only tell part of the stories when it comes to these real paranormal cases and stuff. And then they Hollywoodify it, as I call it, and they add all kinds of stuff that really didn't happen and stuff. But I mean, who doesn't like a good horror movie? I love them. But as far as what I do, that's not what I do. So But yeah, it's just one of those really nasty negative locations, and there's a ton of Masonic symbology in that house. It's built right into the woodwork. The three-pointed triangles in there above the original four entrances and exits, that's all Masonic. There's pillars, on all the door frames. There's carved in there the pillars of Solomon. I mean, it's crazy stuff. So at some point in some time, some people were doing rituals in that house. There's all kind of weird aspects to it, and I just read the book. That's all I can tell the watchers and the listeners and everything, because there's so much. We could literally spend probably 6 weeks of your show talking about, all the different aspects of this house. It's so crazy. And it's just a very negative place. And, I'm not sorry about it, but, it's just, it was part of my paranormal journey, if for lack of a better word. It's something I felt I needed to do, and I did it. And it's coming full circle now. Now it's time to shut it down and do what's right with it.
All right. We also have a question, or we have a question or two that's popped in. Do you think there could be anything negative? This is from Marla.
Oh,
attached
sure.
to the land?
Yeah, that's all part of it. So during the French and Indian Wars, that whole area was littered with battles. There was finally a weird peace agreement struck between the French and the Native Americans in the area. That's why the county that the house sits in is so weird looking. It's like, so it's told, as the old tale goes, that the chief and the general for the French army, the chief stuck his spear in the ground, and the shadow that the spear cast from the sun would be one side, and the other side would be the other side. So, and the county, if you look at it, it's really thin shaped and really crazy looking. And so it's pretty interesting. And there's talk of old witches, old witch tales of some witches being hung and burned right down the road from the house. All the local, like not all of them, I haven't talked to all of them, but a lot of the locals, when they dig their gardens, they find arrowheads and pottery. And, there's numerous people killed on both sides all through that whole area back in those days during the wars. So, it's just one of those places that has layer after layer after layer of tragedy, death, and just negative energy.
Wow, that is amazing. Welcome, Gwen. How are you doing?
Uh-oh.
Good. I
Hello.
just got home, so we're good. Hi.
So,
All
yeah.
right. 1 second here. How were your parents towards the paranormal back in the day when you were growing up and everything?
Well, that's another thing that's interesting with me. So my grandpa, my mom's dad, he loved to talk about aliens and different stuff, but mom had her own paranormal experience when she was 19 that she told me many times growing up, because I was just a baby. And you want me to tell it real quick?
Go right ahead.
So she was 19 when she had me, and I was just an infant. And her and my aunt, or her and her aunt, which would be my great aunt, decided they were going to go to the grocery store, and they left me with my grandparents. And the nearest grocery store is about 20 miles away back in those days. So they're on this old twisty turny road here in West Virginia called 19. It's now called Old 19. And they were coming around a turn, and they got hit head on by a drunk preacher driving a church bus. Well, my mom went through the windshield, and my aunt smashed her face on the windshield. She lost all of her teeth. And my mom, when she came back through the windshield, cut her face, and it was peeled over. And she doesn't remember really much of that. She remembers being on the ground outside the car. She doesn't know how she got outside the car, but she said that this beautiful man was standing over her, like real young, and he had this glowing aura about him. And he said, "You're going to be okay. I'll be right back." And he took his shirt off, ran down. There was a creek there next to the road. He ran down and came back with his shirt where he dipped it in the creek and put it over her face. Well, she said she blacked out after that. Next thing she knew, she woke up and she was freezing cold and couldn't move, and she was naked and she couldn't talk or anything. All she could do was move her eyes. And she could hear her aunt outside the door screaming, "She's not dead," and some expletive words, like cussing words, saying, "You go check her again," blah, blah, blah. And the doctor came in, and when he got over to her, said, "Holy crap, she's alive." And her eyes were open, and he felt her finally got a pulse. So, long story short, she recovered from the wreck. She had lost so much blood that they couldn't even get a pulse on her. They thought she was dead. Well, for years, she asked all the firemen, the paramedics, the police that were there, and eyewitnesses about this man that helped her, and nobody could recall ever seeing this man. So, and this is a small community. Everybody knows everybody, and nobody saw this guy or knew who he was or anything. So, she said that was her guardian angel type situation, and that she kept hearing in her head too when she was laying there that it's not your time yet. You got to go. You got to, raise your sons. And she only had one son, which was me. But later on, she had my little brother. So there you go.
Wow. Would that be like a near-death experience?
Sure. Yeah. Why wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be NDE for sure, I would say.
Also, again, you're watching Paranormal Files Into the Darkness. Our guest tonight is Dave Spinks. All right. That is one of the stories from Real West Virginia Hauntings Volume 1.
Yes, it is.
Do you have another favorite or creepy story from any one of your books by chance? You can share.
Oh man, there's so many, dude. I mean, I've had some crazy experiences. I've been doing this stuff for well over 30 years now. During my working life when I could, and then pretty much full blown after I retired in 2011-12 time frame. And there's been some downright creepy ones. One of the ones that I talk about a lot is when I investigated this house in Wilkes-Barre, PA, with a team of people that I wrote a book about it called Wicked 46 because the address was 46 on Wells Street, and it was a notorious haunted house that the Warrens had been to in the 80s. And we didn't know that at the time. We found this house listed for sale as a haunted house. Well, doing a further little bit of research and investigation into it, we saw that this was a notorious place. The whole freaking city knew it was haunted. The college in the 80s used to have a paranormal program, and they actually were in there investigating, and Ed and Lorraine Warren had actually went to the house. And as far as I understand, Lorraine didn't go in, but Ed had gone in and checked some things out. And Lorraine was in a newspaper there. I have the article. It's in the book. And she was rubbing her hands outside of the house and saying that there was something really evil in that house. Now, later on during our investigation, we put a team together and we went to this. We rented it from the woman who was selling it, which was the daughter of the last woman who lived there, who had died, and they were selling it. She didn't die in the house, but she died in a hospital. They said we found out through John Zaffis, who's a friend of mine, that he was looking for their case file because everyone knows they kept meticulous case files. That's what they built. That's what they make the Conjuring movies off of. And he couldn't figure out for the life of him, there was no case file on this house, but they had been there. We have the newspaper documenting it and everything else. But long story short, we put a team together. We lived in this house for 30 days the first time, for 24/7, and lived in it while we were investigating it. Then when me and the main guy, some people didn't last. A couple guys, one guy, he couldn't hack it. It was very nasty and evil in this place. And he was pretty religious, and he left within a week, and he was crying like a baby, and he rolled out. And then some just crazy things happened. The Constantinos did a live remote, EVP session with us from their house in Reno. And then right after that, not long after that's when they had the whole murder-suicide thing. And, all this crazy stuff happened. Then, Johnny had come down with us and investigated for 2 or 3 days and had some very personal experiences there. In a negative manner, or whatever was in there was, talking about his family and all kinds of stuff. And so anyway, long story short, me and the main guy, we went back 2 more times or 3 more times for 2 weeks at a time. And then he ended up buying the house, and he ended up selling it to a movie person, which did nothing, they did nothing with it. They were going to try to make a Conjuring type movie out of it, but it never happened for whatever reason. But and the book is basically a daily journal of what I experienced in that house, and then how it really negatively affected me. Because the person I was with was very dark and into doing Ouija board stuff 24/7, and I don't mess with those things. I just documented it for them. you know, and I was there as an investigator. I don't use Ouija boards. It's not what I do. I don't like them. And it's just my personal opinion. And based off of many cases that I've investigated myself personally that were experiencing negative type hauntings, in 95% of my cases alone, which numbers into the almost into the thousands now probably, but in the several hundreds, 95% of cases I've investigated personally that were negative in nature, someone in that family had or the person experiencing the haunting had used a Ouija board at one time in their lives. So, you know, just numbers don't lie to me. That's how I do things. So, going back to the house, we went back, you know, and I had some very negative stuff happen to me, and all the people that were involved in that investigation, except for a couple of us, are no longer friends. The negative things happened to each and every person involved in that situation. And only a couple of us talk to each other anymore, but because of the darkness that was involved, and some of them turned very dark after that case, you know, and it is what it is. But I wrote that book because I wanted to tell people, hey, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. It serves as a warning. You know, back in some of those days, I was running and gunning, and I just wanted to document everything I could, you know, paranormally, and capture something, you know, just unreal on camera, which we did. I mean, we got all kind of crazy stuff. I mean, there was major television shows trying to come in, like Ghost Adventures and everything, but the guy that ended up buying it, he was wanting to charge like $10,000 for them to come in, and they're like, we're not paying you 10 grand, dude. So in a way, it was a good thing they didn't come, because that place is very, very negative, and a lot of stuff happened. So it got a ton of attention. You know, they were calling it the Amityville of PA. That's how negative. I mean, it was so crazy in that house, guys. It sounded, at any given time, it would sound like a herd of elephants was running up and down the stairs. And there was constant banging on the walls. It was like, it got to the point where we all slept in the living room on air mattresses and the couches and salted around the whole living room. And it still didn't help. I got an attachment from that place. I had all kind of crazy stuff going on. My life went upside down for a while until I realized the light bulb went on and said, man, I got an attachment. So I went and got blessed by several different clergies, a shaman, a Catholic priest, which I'm not Catholic, and a Baptist minister. And I kid you not, within a few weeks, everything turned around. So, you know, and I even got cancer in my leg right after that case that came out of nowhere. So I had a softball-sized tumor removed out of my leg after that case. So, you know, you got to be careful when you're doing this stuff. It is dangerous. You never know what you're going to run into. And that's why I wrote the book, Wicked 46. It tells, hey, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And I got it one time, and it was not fun, let me tell you. And these things, these negative entities, you can call them demons, you can call them by whatever name you choose, but their sole purpose is to seek and destroy souls and lives. And they will affect you spiritually, mentally, and physically, and even in financially, in any way they can, to cause havoc in your life, in your lives. And that's what I went through during that. So just a word to the wise: be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, you never completely know what you're dealing with. Go ahead, Gwen. Sorry about that.
I just wanted to ask you, after that experience, what do you do now to protect yourself when you leave a place?
Well, I've always done a little bit of protection, you know, before I go in and even after. But when you're living in that situation like that, and the people, some of the people with you are doing dark stuff and just utterly, literally telling demonic entities to attack me and do this stuff to themselves, they're inviting that in. So like, I was cannon fodder on the side trying to document it for them. I was being affected negatively because of their actions. So, you know, I wasn't partaking in that, so to speak. I was just doing my normal investigating, filming it, and filming them doing their stuff. And it's a word to the wise: you can and will be affected at some point. The more you seek this stuff out, at some point, it's probably going to negatively affect you. And I'm just telling you, based off my experiences and my opinion, you may get lucky and nothing ever happens to you, but I've been doing this long enough, and I've seen many other people affected. I mean, we know people are affected. Look what happened to the Constantinos. You know, you can say that's not paranormal, but to me, that's paranormal, because, you know, if you look at all the stuff in their lives and what transpired and what took place, you know, there's no coincidence in that to me. And, you know, I've seen it happen to many, many people. I've known other people in the paranormal investigators that were good investigators. suicides, murders, all kind of crazy stuff that has affected these crazy, weird health problems that came out of nowhere. These are healthy people. I've seen it over and over again. And then not only in the paranormal community, but also in the cryptid community and UFO community as well, because there's a lot of negativity out there when you're dealing with some of this stuff. So you have to be really careful. I do use a lot more protection now. You know, when I leave a place, I mean, I take care of the vehicles, my equipment, everything. I'm using holy water in the whole 9 yards. So, you know, yeah, does that always work? No, it doesn't. But you got to do what you got to do. You know, if you're strong in your belief system and you have good intent and you're a good person, I believe those things really help a lot. So sometimes stuff is just a little bit more powerful and you have to go to the next level. So, you know, if you notice, just the words of the wise too, if you're ever after an investigation, if you're an investigator and you notice that your demeanor is changing or you're more edgy than you would normally be, or you snap off at, you know, any little thing, start taking notice. That could be an attachment, because that's how it starts. It starts with little things and then it builds, and then it, you know, they get a deeper foothold. Or you may be going through some stuff in your life. You know, another thing we're looking into a lot lately is people, my girlfriend's a holistic healer and everything, and we've been doing a lot of back and forth with the spirituality stuff and energy stuff, and we're noticing that people that have what we call holes in their soul, whether it's like past, you know, either past life traumas or childhood traumas of any kind, like they were abused, or maybe they turned into a drug addict or an alcoholic and stuff, and then they seem to be more prone to getting attachments because those negative entities will use a crack in their aura or a crack in their soul, so to speak, to gain that foothold, to further gain a hold of gain a real good hold on them and get inside and take control. That's what they look for. And a lot of people that are empaths and have some abilities are really susceptible, even more susceptible to this stuff than people that aren't, because especially if they have a trauma involved in their lives where they were abused or something happened to them, or they, you know, even when you're grieving a loss, someone close to you, that's a crack, you know, and those entities will utilize that to gain a foothold and get into your personal stuff and try to wreak havoc with you. So, you know, and all of us have some sort of, you know, trauma of some sort. Someone, we lost someone close to us, or, you know, something happened in our lives that maybe kind of struggle with or whatever. So, you know, I know there's people out there that have attempted suicide and they're in the paranormal field. You have no business in the paranormal field. Stay out of it. Because if you've tried to kill yourself and you've crossed over at all, those negative entities will seek you out. I've seen it happen. So be very mindful of what you're doing.
Definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Also, I forgot to add earlier, if anyone watching has a question for us or for Dave, please take and put it all in capital letters so that we can tell easily you have a question. Also, I know it's going back a little bit, but can you tell us what you caught on video at that house in Pennsylvania?
Just the whole gambit, man. We got EVPs, we got numerous types of disembodied voices. Nothing really spectacular like a full-bodied apparition, but a lot of crazy sounds, unexplained knocking, unexplained footsteps. We used luminol at one point, found blood splatter on the wall where a teenage boy had blown his head off in the one room. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. Equipment galore going off, you know, EMF meters, everything under the sun. We had a compass one time and it was going just like there was an open doorway in there, and it was just the EMF was off the chain in there. On the Mel meters on the stairwell was really active. There was one time it went over 100. I mean, it was insane. It's the biggest reading I've ever seen anywhere. And you know, we found out some other things, that there was also another Native American tied to this whole block and this whole area. The white settlers came in. There was numerous battles between the natives and the white settlers. Lots of people were killed. When they built houses on where this particular house is on that street, it's kind of up on a knoll and a hill area, and there was numerous Native American graves. They just desecrated them, robbed the graves, and built right on top of them. So, you know, you got all this crazy stuff. There's a lot of history there. Goes back to a famous landowner. His son was, what the hell?
You okay?
Yeah, I just heard a bunch of noises in here. But woo, there was people trying to come in. They thought I was open. We're closed. So anyway, so the owner's son, they had servants and slaves and everything, you know, back in the day there. One guy died in the backyard. He was pinned up against the tree with a horse flipped back over on him. His son was in the barn with the horses. A freak bolt of lightning hit the barn, set the barn on fire, the horse, and killed the horse. And that his son was on, and the horse fell on him, pinning him under the horse, and he burned up in the fire with the barn and all the rest of the horses before they could get to him. Back when the college was investigating the house, they found that there was a voodoo doll inside the brick of the old cooking fireplace, you know, that the servants had put in there to curse the family. So they might have been being treated very badly, I would say, you know, and other things like that. It's one of those places that has all kinds of layers that you would have to dig through to even get to try to figure out what's going on there and deal with each one separately. So, it also has, we know it had ties to the famous Smurl haunting, but that's a whole nother story within itself that, you know, we did some research and, you know, talked to old man Smurl. He pretty much told us the whole inside of the house, what it looked like, but then he claimed that he'd never been in there. So we think some of the Smurl hauntings actually happened there at one point in time, but you can't, you know, no way to prove it other than we think his daughters rented that house at some point and whatever, but, you know, whatever. It is what it is. So lots of layers there as well.
What's in general? Can you give us an idea what the best EVP is you've ever captured?
I've got I mean, can you imagine over 30 years, I've got a ton of great EVPs. One of my first EVPs, we were on a family vacation and I had the old style cassette recorder with the mic you plug in, you know, and you hold it. And we went to a place called Mesa Verde in Colorado and New Mexico border there, where the Anastasi people just disappeared. And we were out there all by ourselves. It was during the week, and there was no other people around, no natives or anything. And I actually captured some Native American drumming and some chanting on it. And that was my very first EVP, so that's always one of my favorites, you know. And then I got a really cool one at Tala one time. I was in there back before the new owners that have it now. I used to have free reign of Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, being in law enforcement and stuff. And I would go in there at will pretty much. And I was walking through the building. And if you don't know about Tala, guys, it's the second largest hand-cut stone building in the world. Only one bigger is the Kremlin in Moscow. And it's a massive, massive place. And over 20,000 people are buried there on the property that have died there, you know, for various reasons, abuse and sickness and everything else. But I was walking through there, and with my own ears, and I got it on the recorder, it's a man's voice yelling, "Hey, let me out of here," like that. And I'm thinking, holy crap, there's someone stuck in one of the rooms here. So I'm running up and down the hallway, checking in every room. There's like 40 or 50 rooms on each second of each floor, you know, and all the doors are open. There's no doors on any of the closets at that time. And there's nobody to be found. It was almost like a guy was in a straitjacket and he was really mad and he's like, "Let me out of here." I've caught numerous EVPs there over the years. Got my first shadow figure on camera there. You know, back in the days when you didn't have the real good IR lights, but you still had the Sony cams that had night vision on them. You could see pretty good down the hallway. But you know, just all kinds of them. You know, all kinds of EVPs, man. Little girls, little scary ones. You know, that break your heart. That sounds like a little child. There's a place I just did on Ghost Nation. Matter of fact, that was my case, and I brought the Ghost Nation guys down. And Jason and Steve Tango came and did it for season 2 of Ghost Nation. And I was there and I caught this EVP of this little girl. And it said, I was asking just generalized questions because, and I heard it wasn't a girl, it was a little baby crying, you know, and some of the stories were that when the baby, you know, medicine wasn't what it was back in those days. And, that the kids would die of cholera and all kinds of stuff. And they buried them right in the yard out next to the house. So I was out there and I got a baby crying, and you hear a little girl like a toddler go, oh, like she was sad that the baby was crying. It was real spooky. And then one of the craziest ones I got was up here at the William Heyman house here in right up the road from where I live. The rumors were that a little girl had died in the house, and I was asking questions. I said, you know, is there a little girl here? Did you die here? You know, just generalized questions. And it broke my heart because a little girl's voice, clear as a bell, says, "Daddy, is that you?" Like that. And it just like, man, it just felt so sad, you know, and you could feel that energy of a sad little girl who may have passed on due to sickness or whatever the case in that house as well. So, you know, that's the kind of things we look for as investigators, trying to validate some of those stories and different things.
That is amazing. Where was that last story from again? I'm sorry.
That's the William Heyman house in Sutton, West Virginia.
Okay.
Okay.
The William
I think
Heyman
Nick
house.
Groff just went there like a few weeks ago. I pretty much helped put that house on the map when they first bought it and turned it into a house you could investigate. And it's a pretty famous house in that town. Another small town, USA. It's in the same town that the Flatwoods Monster Museum's in.
What town are we talking? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sutton, Sutton, West Virginia.
Okay.
Excuse me.
No problem. How was it? What was it like working with Jason and the rest of the guys from Ghost Nation?
It was awesome. To be honest, you know, you see a lot of these shows and stuff, and you wonder, okay, how legit are they, right? And, you know, we've all watched those shows over the years, and I've talked to some of those guys at conferences and stuff, and when you actually get to go there, and you know, I haven't done all the shows obviously, but I've done quite a few now. But I got to work with them and see how they do things, they're 100% legit in the way they do things. I was there the entire time they were filming. There was no fakery going on. Everything was legit and done the right way. And I was very pleased to be able to experience that side of it and work with those guys, you know, and see how they do things. And, you know, I got to give them some of my insights. And one of the fun things that I really enjoy, so we all know those guys don't like ghost boxes. You know, Steve's like a real big proponent of not liking them because too much randomness. But my personal opinion is I've used them for years, and I've got some very compelling factual information off of them. And before you go on one of these shows, they always ask you, do you have any evidence you want to share? And I had some EVPs and like the baby crying I told you about and different things. And I had this one ghost box response I had several that were really good. And I had one that we knew, you know, I knew there was a murder there from talking to the owner back in the slavery days. And the ghost box actually said a name, and I said, well, what happened to you? How did you die? And he said, he stabbed me. So when Jason and the guys come, they did a little more research, and they found the name of the guy that was stabbed was actually John. It matched up to my ghost box response. And I actually said on the show, you know, Dave might have got lucky here, you know, on this one, but they basically validated my evidence, long story short, which was good on a ghost box. They don't, you know, that's just their personal opinion. They don't like them. That's fine. But I do like them. I've got a lot of responses that I can back up with factual information over the years with them.
Which episode of Ghost Nation was that, may I ask?
It's the demonic plantation, they call it.
Have you had any experiences with TV crews opposite of that?
As far as what?
Oh
yeah. So when the first TV show I did was telling my Bigfoot experience, what started me on this with my grandfather back in 1983, and you know, basically it's me telling my story, and then they put actors in to act like. Of course, I was 13 when that happened, so they had to have a kid and another guy that acted as my grandpa because my grandfather's deceased now, but so I was really aggravated. It was cool to be able to tell your story on a show like that, you know, your experience and whatnot. And so when I finally, you know, you don't see the final product till it airs on TV like everybody else. So I was really disappointed to see that they added some stuff that did not happen, and they moved some stuff around in the order it happened. But other than that, in general, they told the whole story, but they added things that never happened. So I always tell folks when I'm at conferences and they ask me about that, you know, and I say, you know, and a lot of times I'll play the segment for them in the conference, you know, and I'll say, okay, remember this part? And they're like, yeah. I said, that never happened. And they're blown away to realize that, what do you mean it didn't happen? I said, they added that in. That never happened. And we never stayed the night. We boogied. We got the heck out of Dodge. And they're like, people are just like so taken back by that. Like, wow, they do stuff like that on the shows. And I said, yeah, all the time. And it's frustrating because once you sign that paper, you don't know what they're going to do. And it's very worrisome and everything else. So you know, me being honest, I tell people about it. I say, hey, this part and this part didn't happen, and that part happened in a different order. It happened before this happened. So that's, you know, it's entertainment. You got to remember, it's entertainment, folks, and they will manipulate it to what they think is going to tell the best story. And it's unfortunate that they do that sometimes. So, and then in another show I did, In Search of Monsters, they had me calling a REM pod a millimeter and a millimeter a REM pod, because the sound guy, because if you don't know, when they film a show, whether it's a movie or TV, the sound and the video are totally done separately. Okay. Then they take the sound and they add it to the video when they're editing it. So they messed up the sound part and had me calling the, you know, two devices that everybody knows I know how to use, and I'm very familiar with all of them, and made me look stupid. So, you know, it's one of the things you have to worry about when you're dealing with these folks that don't know anything about the paranormal, and they're just film and sound people. And when they edit it, they screwed up. So it is what it is. And I've heard other stories with friends of mine, you know, and I've heard other stories from friends of mine that they've manipulated the audio so much they've made people say what they didn't say when they were actually filming for the show. And they were very, very mad because either like, I never said that, and that's bullcrap, you know. So, you know, they can do a lot of different things with the technology now.
It's all about the ratings.
Oh, definitely.
It's all about this, man, you know. So the shows, you know, TV's, I don't do stuff for TV, guys. It's just a bonus. If I happen to get a show that I like, I've had contracts in hand 3 separate times for my own show. I could have been a very, very rich man by now, you know, had the money, had the contract, and they said, well, just remember, you know, at the very end, they're like, just remember, if you don't get any evidence, we might have to manufacture some. And I said, no, I don't do that. And they're like, what do you mean? You got to? I said, I don't have to do anything. I said, my reputation is everything. I will not fake anything, period. End of story. If that's not good enough, then we're done. And we were done. So, and they were pissed. But what are you going to do? Because, you know, the minute you lie or fake something, your reputation as an investigator is over with.
Absolutely.
Done. So, you know, to me, it's not worth all that. I enjoy what I do. I have a passion for this stuff, and I want to present the real thing, not any fakery. You know, it doesn't have to be faked. Sometimes it's scary enough. You know, it doesn't have to be fake. Their story, you know, the journey getting there, the whole story, the history, everything is the story, not the fakery. You don't need the fakery.
Plus, rumors get out of because I know one big show. I'm not going to say which one it is. Did a live episode. You can figure it out. There only a few did major live episodes. Is one that had a lot of talk about fakery on it.
Yeah.
And I will admit, way too much happened in that first hour for reality.
Right.
Way too much.
I mean, not saying that couldn't happen, but odds are it's not going to happen. You know, you could spend, I mean, it's just like some of these people go out and every time they go out, they find a demon. You know, come on, get real, man. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. True demonic cases are very rare. You know, they are more prevalent now than they used to be for whatever reason. But I think a lot of that has to go on with what's going on in the world, and certain governments and certain factions are doing all kinds of child sacrifices and everything else, you know, human trafficking. But that's a whole other topic. So, you know, they are becoming more prevalent. There's more and more of that going on. But let's face it, as an investigator going out, you know, how many of us out there are actually trained to say something's a demon? Not very many people, you know, very, very few in fact. And, you know, I wouldn't even, that's why I don't like to use that word. you know, I use negative entities or spirits or whatever because that's my forte. I'm not a clergy member, you know. I can do some stuff, but I don't, you know, claim to be able to do this, that, and the other. I'm not trained by the church in any way, shape, or form. Even though any one of us you could use some things and some tactics to use to protect yourselves and others, and actually cleanse some places. But another story entirely. So these people that are going into people's houses and telling them they got a demon, and the family freaks out when they're having a negative type haunting, and then the people are trying to sell their house and leave all their belongings. You know, that's bad juju. You don't do that. So what qualifies you to say something's a demon? You know, oh, I took an online demonology course. Well, whoop-de freaking do. You know, those are a dime a dozen. So, you know, you can listen to people, and people that are religious, they feel a demon's attacking them. You got to pay attention and listen, and then you got to do some things to try to determine, okay, maybe we are dealing with something of that nature, but what's the next step? The obvious step is you bring clergy in and let them make a determination, and then, you know, go from there. Sometimes the church won't help certain people because they're not a member of the church, so then you have to go a whole nother route. But, you know, it's just, it is what it is, and it's just, that's the whole conundrum in the paranormal field. You know, so many people think they can watch a TV show and then they go out there and investigate it. It's just not how it works. You know, you should have some sort of background, some sort of training in investigative techniques and different things like that. So, yeah, it's fun. And, you know, it's fun, you know, like I said earlier in the show, big difference between doing a commercial location and a residential. I don't knock people for wanting to learn and try things. Go with a team that's been around a while, who knows what they're doing. Go to a bunch of commercial locations, get your feet wet first, and work with that team, work with the members, learn the ways they do things. And then, you know, don't go into people's house because you watched a certain TV show and you're all of a sudden you say, well, you got a demon in here. Just don't do it. You know, don't do it.
All right. We also had a question in chat that came up a few minutes back. Can we go ahead and go with it, Brendan? Dave, do you think the Winchester House is real or fake hauntings? From Cindy.
Oh, it's my opinion is 100% real, 110% real. I mean, she built that house because the spirits were haunting her family because her husband created a Winchester rifle. I mean, no, people do not go through that, you know, much of an effort to confuse spirits and stuff if they're not experiencing some crazy stuff. And when you have that kind of money, you can do stuff like that, you know. But yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's definitely haunted. It's definitely haunted. You know, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, that would seem to be a great place to investigate. I mean, it's appeared on TV shows. They've given an idea of some of the stories that have occurred there and why it's built the way it is.
Yeah, that's why it's built the way it is. It's to confuse spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, can you show us around the store?
We got some weird feedback going on.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Like electronical.
Let
me do that.
Uh-oh. Do we lose him? I think we might have lost him. Let's give him a moment, see if he's able to come back here. Because he should still have the link. Hey, Dave, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, clear as a bell now. That's weird.
Good.
I mean, I got good internet. I mean, I'm maxed out. I don't know what the deal is. It was very electronical. Sound like the ghost in the machine was talking.
It was.
You have a store. Can you tell us the name of your store? And if you don't mind, can you show us around the store?
Sure. It's called Dave Spinks World of Weird. And basically, I've had this, you know, I had this idea for several years now. And basically, I wanted a store that, you know, when you go to conferences and as a speaker and a guest speaker, which I do many a year, you have a table and you sell your products. And I wanted something that I could do on a grander scale and also have an event center here, which we do. And, you know, it's a cool thing. And it's like my home away from home office. Almost daily, I have people coming in, telling me accounts, saying, can you come check out my house, whatever. So that's, you know, that's what it is. And I'll just give you a quick look. We also All right, we have 8,000 square feet here of everything supernatural and paranormal. And excuse the mess because we're doing some restructuring for from the conference still and moving some stuff around. But I'll start from the door real quick and take you inside. All right, can I switch the camera around or do I have to do it selfie wise? Well, let me see here. I can't switch it around to the other camera, like selfie.
We can still see pretty good though, the way it is.
Yeah, so I'll just hold it like this and then go through. So you can see there's one of the Bigfoots in the window. There's the door logo. And then I'll try not to move the camera too fast so you can get a look. And we have crystals and all the different sages. We have red sage, regular white sage, rainbow sage. We got holy water, holy oil, blessed oils, crystals, everything. Bigfoot. Those are my books over there. You can see some of them from my friends' books, Ken Gerhard, Johnny Z, other folks' books, Creepy Florida, Freaky Florida, Ohio Ghosts, all kinds of different books. Just got our Zoltar in last week.
That's awesome.
Lyle Blackburn, friends of mine. Hats, t-shirts, coffee mugs, hot sauce, you name it. We got it.
Well, we're going through. What's the address as well, by chance?
It's 43 Oakford Avenue, Richwood, West Virginia. We have some authentic Native American items that are made for us by shaman friends, medicine bags, pipes, rattles, drums, necklaces, Bigfoot alien earrings, dream catchers, all real, all made by Native Americans for us.
Some great
And
stuff.
a lot more coming. This is just the very beginning. Of course, t-shirts and our 8-foot tall Squatch in the back over here.
That's cool.
Can you see that?
Gotta
Good?
have one of them.
Very cool.
A lot of handmade stuff, soap, socks. I mean, we have a whole kids section right here with more coming with kids, Bigfoot movies and alien stuff. You know, because it's all about learning too. We want kids to learn about this stuff and understand that it's part of pop culture, it's part of folklore, it's part of history. We got sage kits, you name it, all kinds of stuff. This is just one side of the store, and we're expanding, and on the other side is the holistic area. More books. And then we got, got a TV we play the shows on too when we're open.
That's awesome.
More crystals, sage kits, everything. And then probably won't be able to see over here, but let me go turn the lights on real quick. This is our little event center. We can fit about 75 people in it.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive.
We got to, like I said, we got a mess because we're moving stuff around right now. But so we have, it's got the oils, blessed oils, and protection oils, frankincense, myrrh, the whole 9 yards. And this is Jen's area where she treats people. Excuse the mess, but we're moving stuff around. She's got the electromagnetic magnet tables and everything in here for Reiki and everything else. So that's just a quick glimpse. And, keychains, bottle openers, you name it, we've got it.
Well,
Now, what
that's
kind of
awesome.
hours do you have, Dave?
Right now we're Wednesday through Saturday, 1 to 7, but as soon as the weather starts breaking, we are in the high mountains here. So, as soon as the weather breaks, we'll expand the hours. All kinds of movies, paranormal docs over here, artwork, a lot of artwork from friends of mine and other folks that, these are all handmade, these Bigfoot faces out of clay.
That's
And
cool.
a lot of the coffee mugs and stuff are handmade. So all kinds of stuff, more coming too. So
That's pretty awesome.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the tour. We also do have another question. Came in from Green Paws. Go ahead, Brendan. Have you ever investigated old
cellar hole?
Thank you. My print's too small. There are so many in the woods of Northeast. I never considered if they might be haunted.
So I'm guessing he's talking about the wells in the old houses. You know, a lot of the houses, they actually built their houses right on top of a well so they could scoop, keep the water clean, and they'd run a bucket down, and get their water for baths and cooking and whatever. Haven't really done many of those. I mean, there are some famous places that have the wells of hell, wells to hell, like Bobby Mackey's and, different things like that. But yeah, and sometimes kids have drowned in those wells. So there's been a couple that I've checked out before. One place was in Ohio that had a drowning like that. And the little girl was often hurt in the house, and we were able to get some EVPs with the little girl's voice in there and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I've done a few of those, not a lot of them though.
Interesting.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah.
And we all know there's stories out there of people killing their family members and dumping them in the well, which doesn't make sense to me because you've just polluted your own drinking water. So,
Definitely a good way to get sick, that's for sure. All right. Well, do you have anything else to add?
We got some TV stuff coming in the works too. Looks like some different things coming up. So hopefully we'll see if those pan out. A couple of them are for my own show. So hopefully one of them that I like and don't want to fake stuff, I'll take it, So
anything more you can tell us?
Well, there's quite a few actually. There's three monster shows and then two just paranormal investigating shows. So that's all I can say.
Okay.
So whether they're one-off, I mean, these are all actual full series shows. So but I also heard through friends of mine that Travel Channel or Discovery, I think Discovery Channel just bought HBO. So now, when that usually happens, there's a big slowdown in show production because of they're getting everything in order and different things. So who knows, man? Last year we worked on a show. It was a Dogman show, and we worked from January till June on it, on the whole concept and everything with this production company. I got contract in hand. It was a 2-hour special that would have went to its own show if it got good ratings. Had contract in hand, gonna get paid X amount of dollars for this, and this. Got a week away from filming, they pulled the plug on it. So you just never know what's going down with that stuff, until you're filming it. And even if you film it, it doesn't happen till you see it on TV. That's when it happens. So you see all these people saying, "Oh, I got a show," but then you never see anything. That's because they pulled the plug on it, and they may have even filmed it, but they just set it on the shelf for whatever reason, So show doesn't mean much. It's not the real paranormal anyway. So most, it is, but it ain't. If you get one that lets you do it the right way, then it's a good one. But it's entertainment, folks. Just remember that. So
do you have anything exciting happening on your schedule? You have anything coming up?
Yeah, we have a little mini conference we're doing here May 7th with a gentleman named Dr. Raymond Keller, who was at West Virginia University. He was a 40-year PhD emeritus there, who's written 7 books on Venus and UFOs and everything. He was friends with Gray Barker and John Keel and all kinds of stuff. So he's going to be here speaking along with me, Serenity Jenny, and Ron Lanham from Wild and Weird, West Virginia. And we're selling tickets right now to that on our Facebook events page, on Dave Spinks World of Weird Facebook page. Go to the events, you can see how to get tickets. It's just a little mini event on a Saturday from 1 to 5. So, it's a good time. It's going to be full of UFO stuff. A lot of events I'm speaking at this year. I'm getting ready to update my website with several events I'll be you can see me at this year around the country. I'm speaking at Kecksburg this year. I'll be at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash this year. Withville, Virginia is doing a UFO deal. I'm speaking at that this year. Wild and Weird Con and here in West Virginia. I'll be speaking at that, and we'll have some more paranormal stuff happening here at the store too. And Eric Altman's doing a spaghetti fundraiser for his event next year, which is a mini event too up in Pennsylvania. So, and he does a real nice Bigfoot event up there every other year. So, COVID put it a couple of years behind, but he's going to have it again next year. So, you know, a lot of cool stuff coming this year. Possibly be speaking at one in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but we don't have the exact date on that one yet. And several new books of mine will be coming out this year too. So, super excited. Volume 2 of the West Virginia Hauntings will be out later this year, along with my revised Real West Virginia UFO book. The new Bigfoot book will be out this year. And I think one or two more probably will be out, but I don't want to ruin the surprise on those ones yet. So, but yeah, super excited to get that West Virginia series out. And number 2 and 3 may be out at the end of the year too. It's pretty much, both of them are done. It's just up to the publisher when they get them out, you know. So, you know, it's exciting and fun, you know, getting this stuff out there to the masses, and folks seem to enjoy them. So I'll keep doing them.
That's definitely what matters, as long as people enjoy them.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, we're about out of time as well.
Cool.
I want to
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. I want to thank Dave Spinks for coming on with us. Also, a reminder of his books. We'll go back through the title of his books: Willows Weep, The Beginning, Real West Virginia Hauntings Volume 1, Wood Knocks Volume 2, A Journal of Sasquatch Research, West Virginia Bigfoot, and Real West Virginia UFOs. Real West Virginia UFOs, Sightings and Close Encounters. Also, Cooking with Cryptids by Dave Spinks, and also Wicked 46, A Pennsylvania Haunting. His website is davespinks.paranormalinvestigator.com, and his books can be purchased on Amazon. Some of the upcoming appearances, he added some more as before just a little bit ago here, but include June 18th, Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Also, August 19th to the 21st. I lost track of that one. Gettysburg. Thank you. I for some reason I forgot to type that in. May 7th, Dave Spinks. He'll be having the Dave Spinks World of Weird and Synergy Springs LLC, the host of Day of Cosmic Connections, featuring Cosmic Ray Keller, which will run from 1 to 5 p.m. Tickets can be purchased on PayPal at Dave Spinks World of Weird. Thank you for everyone for tuning in and watching tonight. We appreciate all of you, and thank you for following us from the other channel. Tune in next Thursday, March 31st, when our guest will be Barry Fitzgerald from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International. Also, our future guests will include on April 14th, Nancy Duturtre. If you have the list, Brendan, go ahead. She is the Skeptical Psychic. April 29th, Heather Taddy from Paranormal State and Alien Highway. May 12th, Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files and his new podcast, Paranormal 60. May 26th, Katie Burr from Everyday Paranormal and Ghost Lab. The next show for this channel will be Jack Carey's Threshold, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Also, we have a preview of the upcoming From Behind Tall Trees.
M.K. Davis, a legendary Bigfoot researcher made famous by his groundbreaking work on the Patterson-Gimlin film more than a decade ago. The rogue theories he's promoted on the massacre at Bluff Creek and the mystery of the red-haired giants has made him a cult-like phenom to those within the conspiracy world.
Doesn't make much sense to me.
You won't want to miss what he has to say about the mysteries, conspiracies, and backlash of all theories from the well-known researcher and CPI-ParaWorld director Brandon Brown for a candid one-on-one conversation on the next From Behind Tall Trees, Wednesday, March 30th, only on CARC Universal. Be there.
All right. That'd certainly be a great show. Do you have anything to add, Gwen or Dave?
I think I'm excited to see that one. That looks really good.
Yeah, that does look really good.
It should be a really good episode in which it'll be really good. Trust me on that. All right, Brendan, go ahead and take us out.
Hey, this is Chuck Larson. You're watching the CARC channel on YouTube.
You've been been watching Paranormal Files Into the Darkness, a Catskill Appalachian Research Collective production. For more information on this program and others like it, remember to like, share, and subscribe to CARC Universal today. To join the conversation on our Facebook group, become a member of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective Facebook group. CARC. Relentless.